Amid all the chaos, Steve, it was reported today in the Daily Mail that a photo shoot took place at the mansion of the Optus CEO, Kellerbaya Rosemarin. It was staged for the architect who renovated the Vaucluse home. Look, this is very bad timing. The photographs splashed across the Daily Mail as flowers and other things were brought into her home.
Talk about karma coming to get you. I mean, the timing couldn't have been worse for that family. I mean, no one begrudges the fact that they've got a nice house in Vaucluse, but the fact that they let that photo shoot go ahead was again a PR disaster for the CEO and the Optus company. I mean, Australians, as you say, are wedded to their mobile phones, and what you want is reliability. Now, I'm with Telstra, luckily, so I wasn't affected. But I mean, if you were trying to contact somebody today, an elderly relative, I mean, you have that situation where they've got alarm devices that are loaded into Optus if you have a fall at home. You had hospitals who couldn't operate. You had little coffee shops who were having to write out IOUs. I heard one woman today say she had served 100 customers, hoping that they were honest enough to come back and pay her tomorrow. It's a PR disaster for Optus. And you saw in the share price, Ross Greenwald reported just before you that Singtel's share price in Singapore has gone down as well, and Telstra's share price went up. It's a complete disaster for that company, and you'd have to say the future of that CEO has to be in question.
Yeah, well, and also we need still a proper explanation as to what went wrong today. Optus still hasn't answered that question. When you've got 10.2 million Australians affected, they have to say, well, fine, they've said it wasn't a cyber attack. So what was it, and how do they know that the problem's not going to happen again? Now, Steve, of course, we saw the 13th rate rise yesterday. New research today indicating that this rise could be the tipping point that means that some homes or some households will lose their homes, that they will no longer be able to make their mortgage repayments. Also, reports in the Australian today that say that RBA has effectively cancelled Christmas. Some economists predict we're still to see another rate rise at the next board meeting on December 5 because inflation just isn't under control.
I tell you what stood out for me today. The Daily Telegraph did some great numbers. You got a $750,000 mortgage and you add up the 13 interest rate rises that have happened since May last year, you are now paying, after tax, $1,815 more a month on your mortgage. So, you know, in rough terms, $450 after tax a week. Now, if you're on a $750,000 mortgage, I mean, that's not a mansion in places like Sydney, Brisbane, Adelaide, Melbourne or Perth. And so you were probably living pretty close to the mark when you signed up to that mortgage anyway to have a $750,000 mortgage. I think a lot of people are going to have to cancel Christmas. I mean, your spending on things like Christmas presents is going to be brought into question. Now, people say, oh, well, you know, this is just people over-exaggerating. Well, no, it's not. And there's still a hell of a lot of people, thousands of Australians, who are still due to come off fixed mortgages, which is going to even make the problem worse. And if we get another one of these in December... Sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm just going to point out that it's not just the mortgages that have gone up. It's every facet of our lives is more expensive. And for people who were just making ends meet already, having these rate rises, 13th, potentially a 14th, plus their electricity bills, plus the cost of petrol, plus the cost of groceries and everyday items, life just becomes too expensive in Sydney.
And we all concentrate on mortgages, don't we? But don't forget that every small business in the country also has bank loans and their interest rate payments go up as well. So it's impacting on the small business community just as badly. I mean, we are, no doubt about it, in a cost of living crisis. And I don't know about you, Sharri, but I just don't see the urgency in the new Albanese government, led by Treasurer Chalmers, to do something about it rather than just getting the Reserve Bank to hit people who are trying to pay off a mortgage over the head every month.
And as we spoke about last night on the program, there are concerns that the Albanese government's policies, like a big Australia, are making inflation even worse. Now let's move on to another topic. I couldn't believe this story today. The Australian Defence Force is renaming its drone fleet because it's trying to scrap gender-specific language across the armed forces. So this exclusive story in the Australian today, it says that what was previously known as unmanned aircraft systems are now going to be called uncrewed aircraft systems. Unmanned, apparently offensive. Now it's uncrewed. Come on, Steve, this is ridiculous.
It's beyond belief. And when you think about it, to be brutally honest about this, you know, we're in the middle of a very ugly conflict in Ukraine with the Russian invasion. We're in the middle of the horror that is unfolding in the Middle East, and we had the terror attack on Israel and now the response. And a lot of those conflicts are using drones. Does anybody in the ADF and sitting on their velvet cushions in Canberra in the top brass's office believe it's an appropriate time to even be talking about this? It is completely ridiculous. Does anyone really think, when you're using drones in a military sense, that term even matters? I mean, where does this garbage actually come from, Sharri? I mean, look, we all know that the top ranks of the Defence Force in Australia are a protected species, but seriously, if Richard Marles doesn't pick up the phone and tell those blokes to shut up, I don't know what he's doing.